getting swept in the Vetter Cup by the Seattle Mariners. They are off today. They'll be back tomorrow in Toronto with Chris Bassett going for the Blue Jays and Dylan Cease going for the Pods. And in the NBA, the conference finals are set. The Minnesota Timberwolves will be taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder after the Oklahoma City Thunder thrashed Denver in Game 7 yesterday. And the Indiana Pacers will be taking on the New York Knicks, with the Knicks having home court advantage. On WhatsApp, your personal messages stay private. So things like those selfies from last weekend's party stay between you and your bestie, because on WhatsApp, your personal messages are yours. No one else can see them or hear them, not even them. WhatsApp, message privately with everyone.
Check the clock. What time is it? It's high noon. The Vetter Cup, round 1. Not so good. Mariners sweep at Petco. It's a travel day as the Padres head north of the border to face the Blue Jays. SDFC goes to a draw versus Sporting KC. Sorry, Sammy.
What are we doing here?
Scotty Scheffler. Just being Scotty Scheffler.
The king of golf conquers the Queen City at Quail Hollow. Scotty Scheffler is a PGA champion.
And the NBA Conference Finals are set.
The Young Thunder punching their ticket to the Western Conference Finals.
Time to get into the Fletch Zone.
Yeah, let's get it going on a Monday. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Ben Fletcher. That's Sammy Long. We're with you till 2 o'clock today. John and Jim will take over then. Lots to get to today. NBA Conference Finals are set. Scotty Scheffler wins the PGA Championship, and I love the version that he did it in. We'll get to it all in a little bit. The Vetter Cup. Oh, no.
I told you Pearl Jam sucked.
Oh, Pearl Jam does suck. I'm with you, Sammy. I'm right on your side now. The Vetter Cup does not go the way of the Padres. Turns out when Manny Machado and Jackson Merrill get one hit combined over a 3-game series, you're probably going to get your ass kicked. And that's exactly what happened to the San Diego Padres. Only little, the bright side of that is the Dodgers got swept by a worse team. The Dodgers got their ass beat by the Angels. So take a little solace in that if you would like to. We're going to get to it all today on a Monday. Also, Big Rich Ornberger going to be jumping on the show at 12:30. We're going to talk through a little contract that went over in the NFL. Not sure if everyone saw this.
You know, I usually on Fridays, we're gonna save to get in this. Usually on Fridays, I'm excited to leave, even though I love getting to work every day. I could have stayed on. It broke a minute after our show got off air, and I was so bummed out.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about your internet behavior that day, because I'm not sure what you were going for.
Oh, you're going to hear in a little bit what I was going for. But
sure,
a lot of listeners were jumping and agreeing with me, as shout out to all of you guys.
I think there was one.
Legendary listener. Lots of listeners. I had to listen to John and Jim peddling his Niner fandom for 4 hours straight. I was like, we need to get back on air, because these Niner fanboys might need a little bit of
we'll talk about Brock Purdy's contract. I think it was a good thing that the 49ers did. I think it was a good thing that Brock Purdy did, and I can kind of explain my thought process, which I think is very, normal. But I'm excited to hear what Sammy has to say. Sammy, who belongs to the most spoiled fan base in all of sports, the Kansas City Chiefs, who lucked into Patrick Mahomes, who is a generational all-time talent. Not every franchise is lucky enough to just draft Patrick Mahomes with the 15th overall pick. So we'll kind of get into that.
10th on a trade up from 27, but I got you.
Okay, that's fine. Patrick Mahomes, who people definitely for sure thought was going to be a superstar when he got drafted. So we'll discuss all of that coming up a little later in the show. But every single day, we start off the same way, which is called the Big Three, where Sammy Long takes us through the top 3 stories in the world of sports. And Sammy, I guess we sound like chipmunks again.
Again?
Yeah, Viva Padres just let us know on YouTube.
What is going on with this? I got to fix.
We sound like chipmunks again.
We're trying to do a serious sports show here, and we sound like little ass kids.
I think it's adorable. I really do. Why don't we get the Big Three started? You're going to have to deal with the chipmunky for a little bit, and then we'll fix it during the commercial break. Sammy, hit the button.
Your lunch break is here. Ready to go back to the office and knock the socks off your friends? I mean, coworkers? It's time for the top stories of the day. The Big Three.
If you would like to see us with our chipmunk voices on
this
X,
will be the only segment.
On X, it's at Fletch and Sammy. On YouTube, it is at San Diego Sports 760. Viva Padres. You guys sound like chipmunks, but we all good. Tyler says, I was thinking helium voice, and a crying laughing face emoji. Thank you, boys, for being here this morning or this afternoon. What time is it? 12:05?
Yeah, it's morning for us.
Yeah,
well, not for you. You got a job in the morning.
Thank you for letting us know. And Sammy will get that fixed right away. Where are we starting?
Let's start in the NBA. We got conference finals set. I saw this on First Take this morning. I thought it was an interesting conversation. Are either Tyrese Halliburton or Jalen Brunson, who will meet in Eastern Conference Finals, do they clarify as superstars in today's NBA?
They're about to be.
Even the loser?
I think so, because they've both been the two people who've carried them through. Look, months ago, we were set on Boston and Cleveland being in the Eastern Conference Finals. It was one of those conversations with the talking heads on ESPN. Like, there was no other team that was going to be able to do it. This was that was a running narrative for at least 2 months leading towards the end of the season. Am I wrong on that, Sammy? That was the narrative.
Yeah.
So you get into this postseason, and I tell you what, Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton have been the two biggest stars of this postseason. The two biggest stars of this postseason have been those two guys. So, yeah, they're about to be. In fact, I think they probably already are.
I'm not going superstar yet. They're both super elite players. They both could be. That's why I think this series is very interesting, because in the playoffs, in the NBA playoffs so far, I think
we're chipmunks.
we only have really one superstar. I think Anthony Edwards has reached the household name level of superstar. I think if you ask 10 people on the street, 9 people would know who Anthony Edwards are. I don't know that would be the same necessarily for Tyrese Halliburton. Jalen Brunson a little bit more because of the market he plays in, because of New York City. But whoever goes to the finals, this is going to be a super watch series. I think it's a real pick'em series. The Knicks
I do not think that is correct. If it ends up being Pacers OKC, that is not watched series.
I'm saying Knicks Pacers will be a super watched series. So this will elevate someone to a superstar status, but we'll see. I think Brunson has a little bit of the inside track just because of the city he plays in, but Tyrese Halliburton's cold, man. And
the argument for Tyrese Halliburton is he does more media. You see Tyrese Halliburton everywhere. He's on the Pat McAfee show. He's a TikToker. You see him all over the place. So he is a bit of a star.
He's got a real shot. He's kind of got that $1 million smile too. Like
great smile.
He's got the personality that comes along with being a star.
I want to see Sammy Long saying Tyrese Halliburton has a what did you say?
His $1 million smile.
$1 million smile in chipmunk voice.
Well, I think they all just heard it. So, all right, let's go to some golf. Actually, PGA Championship. Scotty destroys the field by 5 strokes after being tied by Jon Rahm through 11 holes yesterday. Does he have a shot to be in the Tiger Woods echelon?
No.
That was a quick no.
Even as of right now, he doesn't.
Well, no, I'm just saying at 28 years old, having 3 major championships, it's not crazy to think that he could go into that all-time golfer status.
Well, Brooks is just a little bit older. He has 5. Rory has 4. Tiger has like 19, or I don't know the exact number. I think I'm right on that. Tiger Woods major championships. And he started them when he was like 21 years old or 19 years old. No, Tiger had already gotten so much done by the time he turned Scotty's age. I don't know that we'll ever see anything like that again.
Tiger at 15.
Nicholas
had 18.
So you kind of look at where Scotty's at right now with 3, and that's amazing. And by the way, Scotty Scheffler has been straight up dominant while he's been doing this. But Scotty Scheffler, as of right now, is trailing way behind the pace of what Tiger Woods was doing at this point in his career. So if Scotty plays another 30 years, maybe he doesn't have a massive cheating scandal that sidelines him for a while. Maybe he doesn't have the bad back. And if Scotty can keep this level of dominance when the rest of golf is also getting better and also starting to focus more on the body and the weightlifting side of golf, then yeah, but Tiger, it was sort of a perfect storm where he had that raw, competitive fire, and the rest of golf was a bunch of fat guys like John Daly.
I'm not saying he's Tiger because no one's Tiger. But in terms of Scotty, the way his swing is, like Freddie Couples, we knew that his back, the way he swung, was going to give out at some point, unfortunately. And probably, even though he was a legendary player, it wasn't going to last as long. Scotty's got such a smooth stroke.
Scotty is the stroke that golf teachers across America would never teach Scotty's golf swing in a million years.
He's 28 years old and on a tear.
And neither of his feet are touching the ground when he makes contact with the ball. Scotty is like, if you had a golf coach,
yeah, but you're not worried about Scotty's back going out. Are you worried about Scotty's back going out?
I'm worried about Scotty like literally falling down the hill every time he tees off. I mean, Scotty
that has nothing to do with whether he's going to play for the next 20 years.
It is the least balanced swing you'll ever see. But Scotty Scheffler is incredible, and I don't want to take away from that. I'm just saying.
Sounds like someone had money on Jon Rahm.
No, I didn't. It did suck to see Jon Rahm go the way he did. But Scotty Scheffler, the way he handled winning that, because mud balls were a problem, and mud balls have become popular because Jordan Spieth likes to cry about it. But mud balls have become a popular thing, and so Quail Hollow got a ton of rain over the last week leading up to this tournament, and so you would see it. Guys would hit a drive, the ball would get stuck in the fairway. They'd have to either complain about it. You saw Shane Lowry, I think, break a pitching wedge at one point. But as Scotty was going on 18, it was his final hole, hits a drive, gets stuck in a divot way down in there, And instead of doing the thing that everyone else has been doing, which is complain and bitch and moan and find a rules official and see if it can get moved, no, he just hit an 8-iron perfectly, knocked it in for birdie and won the tournament. Like, Scotty did it in such a business-like manner over the weekend. That's what's cool to see. And he has the temperament to go on a sort of Tiger run, but like he would have to put like the next 5 years together staying at world number 1 to even get close to sniffing distance of Tiger's record of holding it for as long as he did.
I don't know. At age 21, he's on a tear.
Scotty's not 21.
28, I mean. All right, NFL. NFL is voting on tush push and playoff reseeding today. The Eagles are apparently calling teams, per The Athletic, to secure votes to okay the tush push. Washington linebacker says it needs to be banned. Where are you at on both of these?
Both of them will not pass. I think the tush push is here to stay. I think that playoff reseeding, hopefully, pray to God it doesn't pass. That one actually, I think, has a higher likelihood of passing than the tush push.
Which is crazy to me because the playoff reseeding I am not with. I think there's something so fun about the NFL with division. Winning your division means something. It doesn't really mean that thing in the NBA. In MLB it means something, but it is hard to win playing 6 games against teams that you have played year in and year out. I think it's fun when you have the matchups. Not that those matchups will go away, but it's fun when you have the matchups when it means a lot at the end of the year. And how many times have we seen bad teams? I mean, the Raiders always play the Chiefs great. When the Bengals were terrible for years and the Steelers were great, the Bengals always play the Steelers well. I think that's fun. They don't need to go away from that. On the tush push thing, I was for it for a long time.
Oh, have you come over to the dark side, my friend?
I'm starting to get. I'm either against it, or allow it, but you need to change the rules for defense. Because what it is right now is it's a play that cannot be stopped. I mean, it's in credit. I want to give credit to the Eagles.
For one team, it's a play that can't be stopped.
For one team. So the Eagles, I got to give them credit because they do it year in and year out, and it works, and everyone else tries to do it, and it's not the same. So
it literally takes having a Jalen Hurts as your quarterback and a Saquon Barkley right behind him to push. Like 100%. It takes the best athletes on the field right up.
Jalen Hurts is a guy who squats 650 pounds. So who's going down with that? Now, if you're going to keep it, I think you have to change where someone should be able to leap over the pile. And that's been a thing that's been taken out of the game because they don't want a quarterback being speared. It's a penalty if you try to jump over the center and he touches you. It's getting to a point where it's basically 3rd and 9. It's 9 yards for the Eagles to get a first down because if it's within a yard or two, they're
San Diego Sports 760. We got 13 chances for you to win $1,000 every single weekday with the bonus bucks giveaway every hour from 6 to 6. Listen for the keyword, then enter it at sportssd.com. Your next chance to win coming up at 1 o'clock today. Right before we get going on hour number 2, you will hear a keyword. Take that keyword to sportssd.com. You got a real shot to win $1,000. It's San Diego Sports 760. My name is Ben Fletcher. That's Sammy Long. Sammy Long, are we still chipmunks on the stream?
We want to give a shout out to Mike Usher for coming in here and fix it. We don't sound like chipmunks anymore. Come on in the screen, Mike.
Man, he's a wonderful human. That Mike Usher with a great coral collared shirt on. He looks real good today, man. Hey, we do have a pair of tickets in honor of Mike Usher to give away. A pair of tickets to go see Simple Minds with Soft Cell and Modern English Saturday, May 24th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. You got a great mind, Mike. You really do. Thank you. Seriously, Mike. We appreciate you a lot. All right, he's out now. Yeah, Simple Mind was totally about him. I feel like that was a good joke, wasn't it?
Well, to everyone on the stream, we sound normal now.
Okay, so at San Diego Sports 760 on YouTube, at Fletch and Sammy on X, you can find us there. All right, Padres, let's get into it. We've kind of delayed this long enough, but the Padres lose yesterday 6-1, and everybody's blaming Gavin Sheets out in left field. I don't know. It was bad, but it was far from the worst thing that happened this weekend. Mariners won Friday night 5-1. Mariners won Saturday night 4-1. Mariners won yesterday 6-1. Sammy, you were at Friday night's game?
I was.
How was the vibe at Petco?
It was well, Petco's always a blast.
Was it a little rainy Friday night, or did that wait till Saturday morning?
Saturday was rainy. Friday it was a little chilly, but it was the Padres just never got anything going. It never really felt like there was a little bit, I believe, in the third or fourth inning. I can't remember. It had a few pops.
All weekend long. They did not get anything going.
I mean, there was never really momentum. You kind of were waiting when the Mariners were up 1-0, then 3-0. You're kind of waiting for them to get going, but the bats were just not there. And the bullpen, the middle of the bullpen this weekend, we're starting to see a little bit of a trend here. Not quite the dominant, and it's hard to like blast them because there was no way they were going to keep up that clip of being a 1.50 ERA bullpen. I mean, that's unreal expectations. It's fantastic that they were through 20 games into the year, they were even that good. But yeah, this weekend, the bats were flat, and the Mariners are a good ball club. Now, you didn't hurt yourself in the division because the Dodgers had a really brutal weekend, losing 3 to the Angels. Their entire pitching staff is decimated. The bullpen is getting taxed way too much up there in LA. But yeah, it was just kind of an ugly weekend. Ugly. I try to tell you that Pearl Jam's overrated. I told you this whole Vetter Cup thing. Pearl Jam. We're gonna blame Eddie Vedder. He's really from Seattle. That's what they're saying.
No, he's really from San Diego, but I think he had all of his success up in Seattle. There's some crazy stat I saw Jim tweeting about it that the Padres against the Mariners since like 2020 have an awful record, like beyond awful record.
My friend, who's one of the most legit longtime Padre fans I've ever met in my life, he told me when Rowley was gonna have a home run. He's like, this guy torches us. This is what he was, and literally the next pitch it happened. I was like, yeah, it was a rough weekend.
So not only that, but we're starting to get a little bit of a sample size here. After that 14-3 start, which was incredible, the Padres have been a sub 500 team since that 14-3 start. Now, the good news is you had the 14-3 start, so your record right now is at 27-18. But since that time, the Padres have been an average baseball team. So what's the fix, right? And is it bullpen adding at the trade deadline? Is it potentially a left fielder sooner than that? Because they do need a left fielder. That's a problem. They haven't had hitting production from left field unless they put Gavin Sheets out there, and he is not a very good left fielder. So what do the Padres do to fix these problems? Well, I got a pretty easy start. And looking at this series specifically, you lose 3 straight games to the Mariners. Your offense is nowhere to be found. And we've seen this Padres team win games where their opponent's scoring 5 or 6 runs. Like this Padres team with this offense is more than capable of doing that. Not when Jackson Merrill and Manny Machado aren't hitting. And look, the Manny Machado thing, I get it. His average is up. His power is way, 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 way down. He has 3 homers on the year. I think that's right. Like Manny Machado, if he is this career guy who every year he comes in, hits 30 home runs, and he's consistent, and he has been throughout his entire career, the power is not there as of right now. And I don't know what that is. If there's a tweak in his swing, he's getting on base more. That's great. But I don't know that you necessarily pay Manny Machado just to get on base. He's a superstar hitter because he hits for power. And Jackson Merrill came back from that injury, and he was really good for a couple days. And he's been really bad since those couple of days. So Jackson Merrill and Manny Machado this weekend combined for 1 hit. You're talking about two cornerstones of this lineup combining for one hit. Yeah, you're probably going to get swept when that happens over a full weekend. So it's not some huge mystery to me why the Padres look so bad against the Mariners. Well, the two dudes in the middle of the lineup who you are paying to produce runs for you, Manny Machado, one of the bigger contracts in baseball. Jackson Merrill just signed for ridiculously cheap for some reason. All of a sudden, Jackson Merrill is no longer the young, fresh-faced rookie who you could just say, hey, man, you're doing great for what you are.
There's expectations that come with it.
There's expectations now. So if those two guys are only giving you one hit over 3 games, it's fine because it's in the middle of the regular season and these games don't matter that much, but you're probably going to lose.
And, Friday, looking at the pitch, like Friday night, Kolek had his first rough outing. He wasn't great, giving up 5 earned runs. He had been excellent his first 2 starts. Pivetta, I thought, had a really good Saturday. The offense was giving him nothing. And then by Sunday, did King have the best start? No, he gave up 6 hits, 3 earned runs. But it felt like the pen was so taxed from Friday and Saturday that the pen just had nothing there. And he went 5 innings, and he got touched up there with the homer. But yeah, we've seen a little bit of a trend against the Padres against upper tier competition. Unfortunately, that's what we've seen is when you get down to the nitty gritty, they got swept by the Mariners. They lost a series in New York. They lost both series against the Cubs. We kind of forgot about this when
Astros. They lost a series to the Astros.
I believe they lost a series to the Astros. Then they swept the Giants in the 2-game stretch, which was good because the Giants are a good ball club. But this is a real, the next, when I tell you, people are going to point to it's early. You can't watch the standings. Looking at the Padres rest of this month's schedule versus next month. Next month's schedule is brutal. I mean, you got the Giants, the Dodgers twice, the Diamondbacks, the Phillies twice. That's going to be a hanging around 500 month, trying to be, a little bit above 500. The Dodgers got a tough schedule coming up here. They just got swept by the Angels, and they got a 4-game stretch against the Diamondbacks. And their starting pitching staff is completely decimated. So I don't know how many games they're going to be favored in. Landon Knox going today. The Padres, it was a golden opportunity to build a little bit of a lead on the division. You're going to need to do that over 2 weeks because playing all these division games, realistically, you're not going to be sweeping series against most of these teams.
Padres got about 2 weeks before the schedule really gets tough, and that's when they start playing the Giants and the Brewers and the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, and then it gets brutal for a little bit. So hopefully they can get back on track here over the next couple of weeks because then it gets tough. All right, Rich Ornberger is going to be coming up next here on San Diego Sports 760. But first, if you're watching the stream, you see a little phone number at the bottom of it. That is Gary Cooper's phone number. You can call Gary anytime at 858-376-1299. Gary Cooper runs Mountain Trust Mortgage and Realty, and Gary Cooper's my buddy. I've known him for the last 5 years or so, and Gary Cooper is who my wife and I have hired to help us find our home, our first home, the biggest purchase we'll ever make in our life. We have entrusted that to Gary Cooper, and believe me, if the missus didn't okay it, that would not have happened. But we sat down with Gary, and we sat with him for about 2 hours, and we talked him through where we are financially, where we want to be financially in a couple of years, and how buying a house right now would make sense in that. And he's kind of given us the go ahead, and now we're working through the process of making that happen. That's what Gary does. He gives it to you straight. If we would not have been ready, he would have told us so, because that's what he does. He eliminates the smoke and the mirrors and the shell games when it comes to mortgages. He's told you why. When you call 5 different companies, you get 5 different answers concerning interest rates and closing costs and how no points, no cost loans really work. Call Gary today at 858-376-1299. You can visit him online at mountaintrustmortgage.com. And my favorite part about Gary Cooper is this is his territory. This is what he knows. So why would you go with one of those .coms, the ones I'm talking about, when it comes to your realty or your mortgage needs, when you could go to the guy who this is his backyard? He's been in this market for going on 30 years now, working realty, working mortgages. Call Gary Cooper today, 858-376-1299. Whether you're looking to buy a new home, refinance your current loan, or if you're looking to sell your home, Gary Cooper is the man for you. 858-376-1299, or visit him online at mountaintrustmortgage.com and tell him Fletch sent you. Big Rich coming up next on San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by eBay. Brock Purdy is headed back to the Niners on a 5-year, $265 million deal with $181 million guaranteed. He also has a no trade clause that got snuck into that contract, and the Padres got swept over the weekend by the Mariners. They'll be back tomorrow in Toronto against the Blue Jays. Swapping out your tires, there's nothing like it. With eBay, you find the feel you're looking for. From smooth highway rides to grip for rough terrain, get all the tires you need at prices you'll love. eBay, things people love.
All right, it's San Diego Sports 760. Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long with you till 2 o'clock today. John and Jim will take over after that. Now, Sammy, I do think you have a bit of a preconceived notion in here that Rich Ornberger is going to come on the show and absolutely kill the Brock Purdy contract. I hate to tell you that you might be mistaken a little bit, because Rich and I did discuss this earlier this morning, and he's not fully on my side, but he's definitely not on your side.
Well, you don't know what my side is.
So let's welcome in the big fella himself, Rich Ornberger.
Yes.
How we doing, pal?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad to be back on with you guys. Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit earlier on. I wasn't 100% clear on what Fletch's standpoint was, but Sammy, this is what I sort of unraveled to Fletch. I feel like the 49ers, whether you love Brock Purdy and you think he's the next best thing since Montana, you know what I mean? Or you're indifferent to him, but you realize that he's been a part of some of the more successful seasons in recent memory. The 49ers were up against it. They did the only thing they could do. I think, yeah, it feels like a lot of money to give to Brock Purdy. If you look at his season last year, you know, with some injuries around the offense and maybe a little bit of a down year per the standard that he's created for himself. But if you look at some of the intangible qualities that he has, that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, and actually Kyle's father, Mike, who's a consultant for the 49ers, Mike Shanahan, has discussed. I mean, he's one of those real film room guys. Like, he really understands the game. He's extremely cerebral, and he's going to get the ball to the right guy in the majority of the snaps he takes, which is an enormous benefit. The mental game in the NFL is the most important game, especially at the quarterback position. So you look at the seasons he's turned in already. You look at what else is out there in terms of quarterback talent, especially in kind of a weak draft at that position. And then who knows what you're going to be looking at next year. And you look at some of the available free agents or potential trade targets, you know, Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, and you say to yourself, do we really want to gamble on a guy in his late 30s or a guy in his 40s who are both recovering from Achilles tendon surgery? The answer is probably not. So you're going to pay this guy something close to 20% of your payroll, and you're going to roll the dice, and I think they probably rolled the right die.
Do you think that Brock Purdy is a force multiplier? That he makes his team better?
I think he does. I think he does. Yeah. You know what? And I could parse it out if you want me to. But to answer the question concisely, I think Brock Purdy does, in certain circumstances, make the 49ers better than they would be without him.
He runs a little bit better than you think just by looking at him. The 49ers, I actually think, got a bit of a discount. I think his agent and him could have gone for more money. I really do, because that's what you pay quarterbacks right now. He's the 7th highest paid quarterback for annual average value of contract. It's only 180 guaranteed. That's a far cry from Deshaun Watson money. So we're not talking about the worst contract ever signed.
Are we comparing that to a good...
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, if his agent wanted to really hold the Niners to the fire, if he really wanted to hold the Niners to the fire, he probably could have gotten more. So I'm taking this for the 49ers, for two guys in John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, who, if Brock Purdy doesn't work for them, they're getting fired anyways. So you might as well roll the dice with him. He's the best option you have right now, and see what happens and start building a team around him. I actually feel like his quarterback contracts go, of the crazy ones we've seen lately, this one makes a little bit more sense than most.
Well, here's what I'll say. You look at Brock Purdy and you say, what tier of quarterback level is he in? Is he in the top tier? Well, the answer is probably not, because that's really, you know, Jackson Mahomes, Burrow, Allen territory. There's another name that will circulate into the top 5 in the league, but those 4 are like the top tier of quarterbacks. And then there's a pretty large second tier, and you probably say basically 5 through 11 or 5 through 12. That's the chunky second tier of NFL quarterbacks. And Brock Purdy, I would say, is in that second tier. Now, I don't know how far down you get until you go to Brock Purdy, but look, Fletch, you're talking some truth there in terms of, Brock Purdy's contract. I think it's going to age better than it looks right now. I think that, like all quarterback contracts, it's really, if you want to look at the way it's structured, it's really a 2-year deal. And then depending on how he plays, he's either going to take a salary haircut or he's going to renegotiate for a much bigger deal, and we'll see what happens. But, this is the world we live in now. If you're going to buy real estate in Beverly Hills, you're going to pay unbelievable amounts of money, even if the house isn't as nice as a house you could buy in Iowa. The thing is, you're not in Iowa. You're in a zip code that costs a lot more money than Iowa. So you got to pay Beverly Hills prices. Well, when you're shopping quarterbacks, you got to pay quarterback prices, and that's what quarterbacks go for these days.
Yeah, it's just like San Diego real estate, as my wife and I are finding out right now. Big Rich Orberger on with us. You hear him every morning over on 101.5 KGB, where we do Big Rich, TD, and Fletch now, if you miss us from the mornings over here. And then on the weekends, he still does his national shows with Fox Sports Radio. But Rich, we can get off of Purdy a little bit. Sammy's going to want to get back to it, I know, later on in the show. But let's talk about Ashton Janty, who gets drafted to the Las Vegas Raiders, excuse me. And Ashton Janty, per an anonymous report from general managers, they're thinking of him as already a top 5 running back in this league. Would you agree?
Well, I've never seen him play a snap in the NFL, so I can't agree with that. Look, there's always a reason why you're hearing something, and I don't know what that reason is necessarily. But here's what I do know. I know that general managers, and owners, they want to make sure they feel good about the decision they made. So this could have been a situation where, I don't know, maybe there's some differing opinions inside of the Vegas front office. Like, hey, I really think we should have gone with this guy. Hey, I think we should have gone with that guy. And so all of a sudden this report comes out, and maybe it's Mark Davis. Maybe that's the guy they're trying to convince. And maybe the rest of the front office is worried that he's wavering over the selection of Ashton Janty. And so you get something out there, a source report from an anonymous such and such. And Mark Davis, I'm sure, reads headlines just like the rest of us. And they're hoping that maybe that'll calm them down. I mean, look, that is not anything I've heard from anywhere. That's just a potential answer to the question, why? Like, why are we seeing that report? It's possible it's because there may be some second guessing inside the Raiders facility, and somebody wanted that report to get out to calm down some of that second guessing.
The voting on the tush push today, apparently the Eagles are calling around trying to get people to approve it. Where do you stand with that as a former offensive lineman?
I think it's kind of ridiculous to take away a play that's neither dangerous nor proprietary. And what I mean by that is there hasn't been some study that's come out that said the tush push is more dangerous than any other play in football, or more dangerous than any other play. And it's not proprietary, meaning that the Eagles aren't the only team that can run this. I mean, essentially what we're talking about is a QB sneak with a couple extra people in the backfield trying to shove Jalen Hurts over the line of gain. Anybody can do that. The Eagles just happen to do it better than anybody else, and have now through a couple of different people playing center, a couple of different people playing running back. Like they do something better than everybody else. And if it isn't exceptionally dangerous and it's something everybody else could try to do, then I don't think it should be banned. I think that's ridiculous.
So they're also voting today on the playoff reseeding. So it would be based on record, not based on division, who gets into the postseason, who gets seeded. And I got to tell you, Rich, I kind of hate this because I think that baseball and basketball, their two biggest weak points right now in the NBA and the MLB is a weak regular season. And that's something that the NFL has never had to worry about. It's the strongest regular season in the world because every game matters. Every game is kind of a playoff game. It feels like to me that starting down this road of getting into the postseason based on record only and throwing the division matchups kind of out of the window, although you'll still be playing them 2 times a year, it hurts the regular season a little bit. It hurts the rivalries that get built during the regular season. I wonder where you come out on this, if it's a more fair process to get into the postseason if it's record based only.
Yeah, I'm with you, Fletch. I'm more on the side of if it isn't broken, don't fix it. And this might be a little bit of overly tinkering. You know what? As you were talking about it, this is the first time the thoughts occurred to me, so it's not fully fleshed out. Other than my opinion that I don't really love the idea, I'll add to it. You know, I like to ask the question why. Like, why would you do this? You know, the NFL has the perfect mousetrap. Everybody turns out in droves to watch the playoffs. So why are you trying to screw with something that's already working gangbusters? Well, maybe it's an attempt to make divisions less important because maybe at some point they want to get away from that model because maybe there's going to be international expansion. And maybe you don't want certain divisions to hold a better advantage than other divisions because maybe there are team divisions out there that don't have an international team yet. And so in order to make it more fair and equitable for a team that is out of the country, maybe you get rid of the importance of divisions. Hey, listen, that's just me asking the question why and coming up with an answer on the fly, but that's something that popped into my head just now talking to you guys about it.
Rich, what do you think about story came out last week? Caleb Williams apparently did not want to go to the Chicago Bears, tried to force his way to Minnesota. Do you have any thoughts to that as someone who got drafted, or do you think that's crazy, or they should be able to do that?
You know, here's the crazy thing about all this. If Caleb Williams forced his way to Minnesota and somehow they drafted him and somehow he played great football for them, it's almost like all's well that ends well. You know, Eli Manning was considered a complete heel, and his father and his agent and everybody was up in arms about him trying to force his way away from the Chargers and go play for the New York Giants. Well, it worked out for him because 2 Super Bowl MVPs later, you know, Eli Manning may get himself into the Hall of Fame based on that first decision as a professional. So I don't have any problem with it because the truth is the draft, it almost feels like something that should be illegal anyways. We were talking about this the other morning. I was talking to Fletch about it. You know, it's not like there's one corporate law firm that all, you know, lawyers who are graduating top of their class are going to be filtered up into. And then, you know, based on your I don't know, where you're slotted as a lawyer, or I should say a drafted lawyer, you could end up going to Sheboygan or Hartford, Connecticut to work at a firm as part of one of these 32, you know, franchised firms. Like if this was done in law, it would be deemed a monopoly. It would be deemed illegal. It would be busted up. You know, it would be considered against the antitrust rules in this country. So anytime a player thinks he's more talented than the team that is aiming to draft him and he wants to force his way out of a bad situation for him, I'm supportive of it because I don't think the draft is fair to the players anyways.
All right, Rich, before we get out of here, like 30 seconds, man. Phillip Rivers, this will be the first time he's up for the Hall of Fame. If you were to make a 30-second case on why Phillip Rivers should get in as a first ballot Hall of Famer, what would it be?
Phillip Rivers, I don't think you can write the history of football without Phillip Rivers. I think that Phillip Rivers is one of the most talented quarterbacks who's ever lived. So if that's not enough of a criteria for a guy to be a part of pro football's Hall of Fame, then I don't know why they have one.
It's a good one. That's the right one to me. Now, unfortunately, the class is going to be Larry Fitzgerald, Drew Brees, Frank Gore, Jason Witten, and Phillip Rivers. That's who he's going up against. So it might be pretty tough the first time around, but I would agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah, he's not getting it, unfortunately, not on this ballot.
Not with those guys, man. You're talking about one of the best running backs ever, all-time great tight end, although terrible broadcaster. Your teammate, Larry Fitzgerald, who's an all-time great receiver, and Drew Brees, who, again, you're talking about history of the NFL. No one more historic than Drew Brees. Rich, thanks for your time, man.
You got it, guys. Always glad to be on with you.
And make sure you stay tuned because Long Shots is coming up next. And Rich, I know you need some help on your prize picks. So Sammy's going to give you a lineup for free. Coming up next on the Fletch Zone on San Diego Sports 760, Long Shots with Sammy Long. San Diego Sports 760. Thank you to Big Rich Orberger for jumping on with us. My name is Ben Fletcher. That's Sammy Long. Good stuff from Rich. So, by the way, just from something a little bit earlier on the show, Scotty Scheffler is currently at 139 consecutive weeks as the number one overall golfer in the world. per Yahoo Sports. Okay. Tiger Woods at his peak was at 281 consecutive weeks of the number one golfer in the world.
I'm not saying I want to make this clear. I'm not saying he's there. I'm just saying that on the pace he's on, like he has a shot to be a generational golfer where we talk about him for a long, long time because of his age.
So from 2000 to 2010, Vijay Singh was the only golfer other than Tiger Woods in the world to be ranked world number one. Scotty, I agree with you, man. He has as bright a future as anybody, but he is not quite close yet to being even in the same conversation as Tiger Woods. But we'll get to that. Maybe Scotty will rip off a run of like 5 years in a row where he's winning multiple majors per year and he can get close. That'd be impressive to see. But right now he's at 3. So he's got a long ways to go. Congrats to Scotty for winning over the weekend at the PGA Championship, where if you remember a year ago, Scotty Scheffler was arrested at the PGA Championship.
Yeah, he threw that one back in their face, didn't he?
He really did. All right, Sammy, how did we do this weekend on long shots?
We went 3 of 5. We were aggressive. We went with the 5-legger, which was a tough
but
choice.
It was the Flex Friday, so we got our money back.
Flex Friday. So we actually, if you Flex Friday, you won $8. So technically, I hit you a winner. It's we take profit in all ways.
I like that because you got $12 back in promo funds. At least I did, and then $8 on top of that. So you winner.
Yeah,
nicely done, Sammy.
Winner. I won, guys, and I won Thursday. So technically, we're on a heater.
We're on a heater. 2 days in a row. Hit the button.
Let's see. Underdogs? Nah, that's old. Those with a less than good chance of winning? Too wordy. Wait, got it. It's time for Sammy's long shots.
Make us some money, Sammy. Where are we starting?
All right, this is an interesting day because we have no NBA playoffs. We have no NHL actually on today, so we only have this is all baseball.
No NBA until Wednesday, yeah.
Tuesday. Minnesota and Oklahoma City on Tuesday.
Yeah, you're right. That's what I meant.
All right, so this is an all baseball one. So we're going, and the Padres are out today. So we're going the deep cuts today. Landon Knack, we're going with the Dodgers. 4 pitcher strikeouts. We're going more than. The Dodgers got 8 up this weekend, and the bullpen was completely taxed. The bullpen was bad all weekend, and then Yates got hurt, and Luis Garcia got hurt yesterday. So they don't have a lot. Edgardo Enriquez is not pitching. Evan Phillips is not pitching. Michael Kopech is not pitching. They got problems. So Landon Knack, they almost had to warm him up yesterday because they didn't have enough bullpen arms. He's going to have to go. He could get 8 up against the Diamondbacks, but he's going to be going 6 or 7 innings. They're going to keep him out there unless he is absolutely horrible. So 4 pitcher strikeouts are going more for Landon Knack simply because they're going to need to leave him in the game for a long time. Now, going on to Kodai Senga, 5.5 pitcher strikeouts less than the Mets in Boston. I think this is a game where Boston could smoke them. This is a big weekend for the Mets. It's pretty fun with the rivalry series. This is kind of the one we were looking for. Yankees, Mets. Juan Soto had a pretty tough weekend. He went like 3 for 25 over his last 25 at bats. Cody Bellinger hit the but a grand slam yesterday to go ahead. I think they taxed his pen, really trying to win that. It was a fun playoff environment in New York. I think it's tough to just pivot the next day and get back locked in. So we're going under on Senga strikeouts 5.5 against Boston. Then we're going with the Red Demon. Chicago at Miami. Pete Crow Armstrong, Red Demon, more than 2.5 total bases. Pete Crow Armstrong's a fun player, man. He is a speed demon. He's absolutely torched most teams he's played. He torched the Dodgers. He had a good series against the Padres. He has really become a bright star for the Cubs, along with Michael Busch. The Cubs are a sneaky, really good lineup and a team to watch in the NL. That is a team that I don't think a lot of teams really want to face. Got to shout out our very own Coach Quintera because he called that before the year, said the Cubs are going to be very scary, and I think they are. So we're just going to go with the 3 today because it's only baseball. We're not. We don't have other sports to really work in there, so we're gonna go with a 3-legger today. Do you have any issues with any of those picks?
I mean, I already submitted it, so the smart answer is no. I have no issues with those picks. But Pete Crow Armstrong, after submitting it, I went back and looked, and he's done this like in 4 of his last 5 games or something.
Well, then we can make it a streak.
So he might be due for a stinker, or he's just going to keep on going. He is a lot of fun to watch.
Let's be positive.
I'm going to be positive, Sammy. I like where we're going. We're on a 2-game win streak.
2-day win streak.
I mean, with the little asterisks on it.
No, there's no asterisk.
There's a little asterisk. It's in the corner.
Profit's profit. Never underestimate it. And the Preakness this weekend won on journalism, so that was nice as well.
How about that?
Hit the over on the Thunder game barely yesterday. I was sweating that big time yesterday.
It's a good thing Denver really just rolled over and showed their belly.
Yeah, Denver. Whoa.
They got problems. Is Nikola Jokic already on a plane back to Serbia to go race horses?
He said he was looking forward to drinking beer. He took 9 shots yesterday.
Jeez.
9. He was 5 of 9. That was a.
Oh, I thought you meant of liquor.
Oh,
how do you even know
maybe
that?
He
dude?
might have after that performance. He might have took 9 shots. But yeah, there was. We'll get into it more next hour with NBA playoffs. But it was a
bizarre game for Denver.
Like, I get that they were running out of gas, but that performance after leading in the first quarter, they came out and they were up by they were up 21-10 early in the game.
You know, sometimes we all have to relearn something we already knew, and I relearned something with that Denver series, and we'll share it for you coming up in hour number 2 on the Fletch Zone here on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
This sport is sponsored by Rapid Radios. The Eastern Conference Finals are set. The Knicks will be hosting the Pacers in Game 1 on Wednesday, and Minnesota will be on the road in Oklahoma City taking on the Thunder in the Western Conference. And in the NFL, Frankie Louvu, Commanders linebacker, wants to ban, quote, cheapo tush-push play that will be voted on today by the league. The Eagles are reportedly calling around trying to get people to back it, per The Athletic. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. Business owners can keep in touch with up to 200 staff members at one time. Go to rapidradios.com now for up to 60% off and free shipping.
Check the clock.
What time is it?
It's high noon. The Vetter Cup Round 1. Not so good. Mariners sweep at Petco. It's a travel day as the Padres head north of the border to face the Blue Jays. SDFC goes to a draw versus Sporting KC. Sorry, Sammy.
What are we doing here?
Scotty Scheffler. Just being Scotty Scheffler.
The king of golf conquers the Queen City at Quail Hollow. Scotty Scheffler is a PGA champion.
And the NBA Conference Finals are set.
The Young Thunder punching their ticket to the Western Conference Finals.
Time to get into the Fletch Zone.
And welcome in. It's hour number 2 here on San Diego Sports 760. We are damn glad to have you. We do have a pair of tickets to give away in this hour to go see Simple Minds with Soft Sell and Modern English on Saturday, May 24th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. Briefly, we mentioned it with Rich Ornberger, but this year is the first year that Phillip Rivers is going to be up for the Hall of Fame, and I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't on the first ballot. Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Jason Witten, Frank Gore, and Phillip Rivers. That is the potential candidates for this year's Hall of Fame.
That's a damn good Hall of Fame class.
That's like one of the best. You could make an argument. Like Frank Gore, one of the better running backs, at least long term, that you could talk about in the NFL.
He was good into his late 30s.
Dude was just a machine. Drew Brees, multiple Super Bowl winner. How many MVPs did Brees end up with? I don't know. A couple at least.
No, Did he ever win an MVP?
I thought he got one.
Because they wanted him to, when Patrick won in 2018. They wanted him to win it because just bringing facts to the table. But did he ever win an MVP? I don't think he did.
I could be wrong on that. But Larry Fitzgerald, again, talk about just a mountain of production year after year after year. Larry Fitzgerald put up numbers on bad Arizona teams, on good Arizona teams.
Never won an MVP.
So that's a tough class for Phillip Rivers to try to break in as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I can make an argument that Phillip Rivers should be in over Drew Brees. Just making a point.
Well, go ahead.
If you take out the Super Bowl, which you can't do, I get that that's a major part of this. No MVPs. Phillip Rivers having done a lot with less, because those Charger teams, they did not surround him at one time with a team to really make it. One of the toughest dudes to ever play in the NFL. Damn near played. Well, he did play an AFC Championship game on a torn ACL. Drew Brees got the Super Bowl, but some of those Drew Brees teams, this is not to diss Drew Brees. He's a great quarterback, certainly should be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, they had some bad losses. They lost to the Vikings that one year, and then on the the miracle with that. Like some of those Saints teams really underperformed in the playoffs and were stacked. Phillip Rivers did more with less. I think Phillip Rivers should get a bid in over Drew Brees.
Phillip Rivers did have one of the NFL's all-time leading running backs on his team in LaDainian Tomlinson, one of the best offensive lines ever put together. That was the year he went to the AFC Championship game. And who knows how history is written differently if LT plays in that game. We'll never know. But it seemed like Phillip Rivers was a lot more injured in that one than LaDainian Tomlinson was. And we'll never know how that game ends up. But LT didn't play, Phillip did. So it feels like Drew Brees is going to have the edge over Phillip Rivers.
No, I think he will get in because of the Super Bowl. I'm just saying, if you take out the Super Bowl and you look at their stats side by side, there's a case that Phillip Rivers should be there or better.
If we're talking about who's the weakest on this list, Jason Witten.
Yeah, but he's a Dallas Cowboy.
I get it. Dallas Cowboy. He's a great guy, and Phillip Rivers is a great guy, and Jason Witten had a terrible broadcast career, so we can hold that against him. I think.
I felt so bad for Joe Tessitore that he got looped in with Witten and Booger. I'm like, Joe Tessitore is one of the all-time broadcasters, and he had to deal with these two incompetent. I'm like, what is going on here?
And Jason Witten was all-time bad. Like Booger was bad. Jason Witten was all-time terrible. Remember the Booger mobile they had going on the sideline? It was just all bad. Hey, if you want to text the show today, 70470, start your message with team. We'd love to read any reaction you have on that. Do you think Phillip Rivers should go into the Hall of Fame?
858 said I can't watch the show. If y'all really think Phil is better than Drew Brees, it's asinine.
I don't. Unfortunately, Drew Brees had the better career.
Again, the Super Bowl. So I'm fine with him getting in above Phillip Rivers. I'm just saying that if you take out the one Super Bowl, Phillip Rivers, there's a lot of narrative around of, maybe
if you add one Super Bowl to Phillip's career, this isn't even a topic of conversation.
You can't do that. The reason why I brought up the Super Bowl is because there's a lot of, maybe not in San Diego conversation, but conversation nationally about how is Phillip Rivers even a Hall of Famer because he didn't win a Super Bowl. He didn't even go. Eli went to 2. I think Eli Manning should be a Hall of Famer. Ben Roethlisberger should certainly be a Hall of Famer. I really firmly believe that Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer. And it's not like the NBA, where if you don't win a championship, it's really hard to get you in the Hall of Fame. There are guys that have done it because one guy, you need a couple other guys, but can carry a team to a finals and win one. In the NFL, you could have the worst defense in the NFL, the best offense, great quarterback, and you get sold. So I put less stats in how many Super Bowls you have as a quarterback versus how many rings a guy would have in the NBA.
Yeah, it's a fair point. And I unfortunately don't think that the NFL Writers Association, whoever votes guys into the Hall of Fame, are going to agree with that, unfortunately. But good guy Hall of Fame, Phillip Rivers is the first one through the door. We know that. And he is all-time talent in this league. I think Rich was spot on with what he was saying when it comes to the history of the NFL does not get written without the name Phillip Rivers in it. And that should be the criteria, but oftentimes it is not. All right, every single hour we do something called the Big Three, where Sammy Long runs us through the biggest stories in the world of sports. Sammy, in a second, I really want you to hit that button. Right now, I really want you to hit that button.
Your lunch break is here. Ready to go back to the office and knock the socks off your friends? Coworkers? It's time for the top stories of the day. The Big Three.
Bitter batter, let's get at her. Where are we going?
Okay, we're going to start in a sport. We're not going to spend much time on this for those who don't care about this, but I think this is an interesting take. We're starting horse racing. The Preakness started over the weekend. Journalism won. Were we robbed, though, of the fact that Sovereignty, who won the Derby, didn't participate and is therefore could not win the Triple Crown?
Oh, my God. What are we going to do? No Triple Crown opportunity? I don't care.
It's fun. Like, the Triple Crown is a fun thing, and you ruin it. Like, some people just watch horse racing for 3 days a year, which I get, but
some people just watch it for 0 days a year, unless they're at
You don't watch
Del
the Preakness?
No.
What the hell were you doing on Saturday?
Look, I got a real hard time forcing myself to care about horse racing unless I'm like at Del Mar or I'm at Los Alamitos. Like that, I can have a lot of fun with. I have a real hard time caring about NASCAR. I know people say once you get hooked,
I don't watch NASCAR.
You get hooked, but it's the same sort of thing to me.
Oh, yeah. Well, I always get into it every year when the Triple Crown comes around. I think it's a bummer that the horse didn't go for the second one.
That does suck.
Because it is fun, whether you don't care about horse racing or not, if you're trying to see a horse win a Triple Crown. I think it's a little bit of a bummer when they just held him out. It wasn't because of an injury. They just held him out of it for no reason. And there was a great comeback on Saturday. But
I mean, I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this, but do you know what I actually find more entertaining than horse racing?
What?
So like 2 a.m., you're in a Vegas sports book and they're like trying to find stuff to put on the TV and always corgi racing pops up. Have you ever seen it though?
Over horse racing?
Oh, it's so much fun. And if you're with a couple buddies, 2 a.m. Vegas sportsbook, and you're each throwing $10 on these corgi races, it is the most fun.
That is the most
ever
redneck answer I've ever heard in my life.
No, corgis are like royalty, dude.
You would rather watch corgi racing than actual horses running.
I mean, if you're giving me entertainment value, I think the answer is yes.
That's insane.
What's next?
That's a
it's horse racing.
Wild take. All right, let's go to the NBA. Let's go. So the Thunder are favored over Minnesota in their series, and then we got the Pacers and the Knicks. The Knicks are slight favorites at -145, with the Pacers being +22. Are you leaning any way in this series for either one?
Give me OKC, and I think it's going to be a little quicker than maybe some people might think. But I got OKC in 5, maybe.
5?
Look, I like Minnesota a lot, but I think that OKC's every position on the court, including the superstar, OKC has the advantage. I got Shea over Edwards.
Wow.
Give me OKC in a bit of a rout. And then, look, I think Knicks Pacers is going to be the more fun of these two series. And I have no idea which way I would lean on this one. I will tell you, I really like watching Tyrese Halliburton play basketball. I really like watching Jalen Brunson play basketball. So I think it's going to be a fun series to watch.
So we need a pick. What's the pick?
Slightly Knicks. Slight.
Okay. Minnesota's winning this series in 7 games. I think Anthony Edwards is going to show people what he's made of. I mean, this guy has – I'm not going to count Steph as the Kingslayer thing because Steph played a quarter in the series. Took out LeBron. took out KD last year. Anthony Edwards steps up in the biggest games. And I think in a matchup play, I don't think Minnesota is a very good matchup for the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are a great team. They're really fast. They're lengthy. They got a lot of length on the court, but they're not physical. And I think we've seen that in the games when it gets tight. Outside of the Memphis series where they won games 3 and 4, it was tight, but John Morant got hurt in the third game, and they didn't have him for the fourth. They won one close game against the Nuggets, and that was in game 4. And the Nuggets shot horribly. They don't really know how to close games. They don't want to blow teams out. They know I wouldn't be surprised if there's a game or two in the series where the Thunder boat race them. But Minnesota, they were 2-2 this year on the season series. I think that Anthony Edwards, the way Julius Randle's been playing, has been elite. He's really set up as a number 2. And I don't know who's scoring on this size. Like Gobert's lengthy, Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo's got something to prove. So I actually think Minnesota in 7. And then on the Knicks side, I think the Knicks win in 7. This is a tough series. I'm only going Knicks because at the Garden, game 7, I would favor them. I think that the crowd is a real factor at MSG. But Tyrese Halliburton, man, the series is going to be decided between Karl-Anthony Towns and Miles Turner. That's not the two guys everyone's talking about. But Miles Turner wants to pull guys out and just kind of play a stretch 5, and Cat wants to sit down there, play more of a traditional center. I think the better matchup in that series is going to determine what's going on there.
So let's focus on the West for just a second, then we'll go to our break. But if we're talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves, your reasoning for them winning over Oklahoma City is because Oklahoma City hasn't had to go through any sort of trepidation and play in close games?
Yeah, I think
that's your reasoning?
Yes. No, I
Minnesota, who rips through an understaffed Lakers team and a hurt Warriors team.
Well, the Lakers were who they were. They just didn't have any size.
Understaffed,
but they had who they were. I got to give them credit for that.
So Minnesota,
they still had Luka and LeBron James and Austin
ripping
Reeves.
through the Lakers, who probably needed at least 2 more guys, and ripping through the Warriors without the Warriors' best player. Minnesota has been through more than OKC has been through, and OKC is less prepared to play against them than Minnesota is.
I think Minnesota's ready to go. I mean, again, who's guarding Julius Randle? Who? Chet Holmgren's going to guard him?
Chet Holmgren's got tiny chicken legs.
Chet Holmgren's not going to guard Julius Randle. The Warriors were double teaming him, and he was still getting there. The Lakers put Rui Hachimura on him. He was still getting whatever he wanted. Then they put Jared Vanderbilt on him. He was still getting whatever he wanted. I think if Julius Randle keeps up this pace of play, I just think the size of Minnesota is a real problem for Oklahoma City. And the Nuggets pushed them to the brink. They just did not have any bench, and they were completely gassed out. I think that's why you saw Oklahoma City win on Sunday.
All right, let's save story number 3 for the other side. And plus, we got to tell you what we relearned about the NBA with the Denver Nuggets seeing their way out. But a couple texts before we get to break. 858, Fletch is the kind of guy to bet on the piggy races at the Del Mar Fair. If that's a real thing, yes, I'm in. That would be fun.
Del Mar is one of my favorite things about San Diego.
Dude, I love the Del Mar, the racetracks. I'll go once a year and go watch the horses. When I'm in person, I can get into it. It's watching it on TV. It does nothing for me.
You got to bet, dude. That's you're just watching random horses. Who cares? When you're betting it, it's fun as hell.
Well, I don't know, Sammy. I live in California. That's not legal.
Well, you don't have connections.
All right, the 858. Please. Rivers was an average quarterback. Never made top 5 in MVP voting. Only won AFC championship game. Had the best talent in the NFL for many years, and Matt Ryan had a better career. It's not the Hall of Fame of good people. It's the Hall of Fame. And no, the NFL can write their history without Rivers.
Oh, that was because of what Rich said.
Mm-hmm.
Well
thought out text 858. I disagree with a couple points. Yeah, I'd say Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers had an equal career. Matt Ryan just went to and lost in historic fashion a Super Bowl.
I would certainly take Rivers over Matt Ryan. We can get this more in the next segment. I don't, the Hall of Good thing, I get that. I don't care if they're a good person or not. I'm talking about the Hall of Fame. Phillip Rivers did a lot. I mean, I'm not just saying this because we're in San Diego. Phillip Rivers was the toughest help. I mean, could you imagine, not to diss the Chargers, but if Phillip Rivers had what Ben Roethlisberger had in Pittsburgh, or Eli Manning had with those defenses.
That's the best one because they easily could have been switched.
They could have been switched. Eli Manning, those defenses with Strahan and Justin Tuck and those literally Hall of Fame defenses and Spags running that thing. Phillip Rivers, I mean, to your point, LT didn't play in the AFC Championship game. He played with a torn ACL. No, does he have the accolades? I'm not saying that he's going to get in over Drew Brees. Drew Brees is going to get in because of the Super Bowl. If you take away the Super Bowl, in my opinion, in the NFL, Super Bowls mean a little bit less because you don't play both sides of the ball. Where in the NBA, rings are a big deal for me because you play both ways. And Phillip Rivers, I mean, just look at the stats. He has putting up Dan Marino. He's not Dan Marino, But for a quarterback who's never won a Super Bowl, he's the next tier. There's Dan Marino at the top. There's not too many guys farther down who haven't won a Super Bowl that you take above Phillip Rivers.
Here's what's going to hurt Phillip in the biggest way. It's Matt Ryan has crazy numbers. Matthew Stafford has crazy numbers and a Super Bowl. So if we're going the comp game, the numbers are going to be skewed against Phillip's credentials. But they also played in very different NFLs, I would say. Phillip Rivers was there for the tougher NFL. Matt Ryan and Matthew Stafford both came in as it started to get a little
Had to
softer.
go up against Roethlisberger and Brady and Manning for all those years.
All those years. All right, San Diego Sports 760. Take a quick break here on the Fletch Zone. When we come back, what did we relearn about one NBA superstar this past weekend? We'll tell you coming up next on San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. This Wednesday night, 6 o'clock here on San Diego Sports 760. It's SDFC Midweek Live. Here from the head coach, Mikey Varas, as well as interviews with players and coaches. Find out the latest club and MLS information hosted by Darren Smith. SDFC Midweek Live every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock right here on your home for SDFC San Diego Sports 760. All right, you would think being an Indiana Pacers fan right now and living in New York City, probably not a great thing to be, because New York City is on fire, as they should be, with the Knicks playing the way they're playing. But this guy was wearing a Tyrese Halliburton jersey walking through the streets. I think he was right next to a Sbarro Pizza, which those are on like every other corner in New York. But he was wearing a Pacers jersey walking around, and a mob of Knicks fans were pelting him with trash and trash bags taken right out of street trash cans. And it was a pretty tough video to watch, but credit to the guy. He just kind of walked away, because what else can you do when there's 50 New York Knicks fans kind of chasing you around the streets?
50,000.
Yeah, maybe 50,000. But he's wearing a Tyrese Halliburton jersey. This whole thing goes viral. I saw it over the weekend. Today, Tyrese Halliburton goes on, I think he was on the Pat McAfee show, and says, yeah, no, I'm flying that guy out. He's coming to game one. Cool moves, Tyrese.
Yeah, shout out to Tyrese Halliburton. The whole
$1 million smile. Dude's a great guy.
Dude, Tyrese is cold, man. I'm telling you that this could be a harder series for the Knicks than Boston. On paper, Boston is tough. Now, they missed. People want to go, oh, the Knicks got lucky. They didn't get lucky. They won this series. I know they missed like something like 48 wide open threes, and they determined wide open threes by a defender not within 6 feet of you. And people want to say the Tatum injury, obviously that was a factor for the last 2 games, but they won game 5 and they were going to lose game 4, whether he was there or not. This is a great matchup, because I genuinely get why the Knicks are favored. Madison Square Garden is a tough place to play. Who's going to play better, Brunson or Halliburton? The teams are so evenly matched, but the Pacers, I feel like if they were in a bigger market, would be getting a little bit more credit than they are.
Maybe, and especially when you got a guy like Halliburton at the front of everything. You said it earlier this postseason, low key, we did not put enough respect on the name of the Indiana Pacers. All right, we're going to get a lot more Padres tomorrow, because we will have Kevin Acee on the show. They'll be playing a game out in Toronto against the Blue Jays. But for today, we're going to focus a little bit more on the NBA playoffs. And we still got to kind of, Sammy and I haven't talked about the Brock Purdy extension.
Yeah, we haven't. Well,
it's coming up in about 10 minutes. We're going to have our discussion about it. Maybe that'll be the last 15, 20 minutes of the show today. But coming up Wednesday or Tuesday night, Minnesota playing at Oklahoma City for game 1 in the Western Conference Finals. Wednesday night, Indiana at New York in Madison Square Garden for the first game of the Eastern Conference Finals. Sammy, let's start with Minnesota and OKC. You're a big legacy guy. You called a legacy game for Jalen Brunson in their final game against the Celtics. When you talk about Minnesota and Oklahoma City, Anthony Edwards and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who has more on the line? Who has a little bit more pressure in this series between those two guys?
I'm going with SGA, because he's about to be named MVP.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot could change with the Thunder based on if they win this series or not. Because if they win this series and they lose in the finals, they'll try to run it back with this whole young core. But just like if they had lost yesterday, which they didn't, but do you blow it all up? Do you trade package a Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, trying to get a Giannis, trying to get a Kevin Durant, go get a bona fide superstar who's on the older side to pair with Shai? Anthony Edwards I feel like Minnesota needs a little bit more help, just in terms of, I think they can win the series, but they're rightly not favored in it. Anthony Edwards has more pressure in terms of he has to do more in the series for them probably to win. But I think it's a worse look if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander goes out in this round versus if Anthony Edwards does.
So Anthony Edwards has kind of transcended Minnesota. Like, he's become a bigger star than just Minnesota.
Totally.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I truly believe if you were to walk down any given street and showed pictures of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, people wouldn't have the easiest time recognizing him. And that's nothing against him. I think he's a fantastic player. He's going to win the MVP, deservedly so. He was dropping 30 points in their series against the Nuggets. But when you just look at the star power of the two, Anthony Edwards has already moved up into the upper echelon. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, maybe this does it for him, but he's not there yet. So the spotlight for sure is bigger on Anthony Edwards. The expectations are probably a little bit higher on Anthony Edwards for this series. I don't think that's right, though. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP, probably the better player at this point in their careers. He kind of needs to put his foot down in here and show why OKC was the best team throughout the regular season and why they've been the best team, complete team, throughout the postseason so far this year.
It feels like the last superstar in the playoff left, which I think is a fun thing. I think
it might actually be Anthony Edwards.
Because Anthony Edwards, if you talk to 10 people randomly on the street in San Diego, you show people Anthony Edwards, they would know who that is. I don't think the same can be said for Tyrese Halliburton. I don't think I agree with you. The same would be said for SGA. Brunson, maybe not quite there, but because of playing in New York, I think he's above the other two guys in terms of brand because playing for the Knicks. Anthony, we like our stars to have a little edge. Like Anthony Edwards is fun. You either like him or you hate him.
He'll tell you how much bigger he is than you.
Literally.
Not talking about height.
On and off the court. But so Anthony Edwards, yeah, I mean, the thing missing from him is a championship, but he's still so young. Anthony Edwards has a shot to, if they go to the finals, just really possibly become the face of the NBA.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Anthony Edwards has been in a couple movies now. Was he in?
He was in what's the one with Sandler? The one where, oh damn it, what was that movie?
Was he in Uncut Gems?
No, that was Kevin Garnett.
That was Kevin Garnett
Hustle.
and The Weeknd.
Hustle was the one with the one dude where he takes him out of nowhere and makes him a star. He's like the villain.
And he was pretty good in it, right? I didn't watch the movie, but I heard he did a really good job.
You should check that out. It's a good movie. He's like the bad guy in it. Well, like he's like the one competing with him.
That makes sense. He kind of is the bad guy. Anthony Edwards likes to play that role on the court too. I can't believe we didn't get to it, so I'm gonna just really quickly here, if I can have a minute. What we relearned about one NBA star this past weekend was that Russell Westbrook is where basketball teams go to when they want to lose. Can we just be frank about Russell Westbrook? Dude's ridiculously talented, ridiculously athletic. He holds the record for the most triple doubles in a season, regardless of whether you think that's legit or not. He did that. I know people were ducking out of the way for rebounds and letting him get them, but he did that. Like, we can put some respect on his name there. But I think what we saw with Denver, how they literally just went belly up. They went belly up this weekend, man. That is just evidence pointing towards the case of Russell Westbrook being a cancer in an NBA locker room. The quotes that we heard in this series about Denver kind of turning on him in the middle of a postseason series when they still had a chance to go to the Western Conference Finals. Look, if you are a captain of a boat and you got one dude who's pissing everybody else off, you probably need to kick that one dude off. Russell Westbrook is that guy. He is the cancer of the NBA.
They had players giving anonymous quotes on this own team about how much they hated him during Game 5.
And look, if this was the first time we heard something like this about Russell Westbrook, maybe you turn the blind eye and say, hey, he's athletic enough to where he can help us win. At this point in his career, what are we doing?
If he was a transcendent player, he'd have a ring by now. He had a stacked team in Oklahoma City, Houston, Brooklyn, the Lakers, Denver. I mean, there's a recurring theme here with Russell Westbrook.
So we relearned it. I think we needed to, because who were they playing Denver before? The Clippers?
The Clippers.
He had a really nice series against the Clippers. And everyone's like, oh my God, Russell Westbrook, is he back? He is not back. He is the same person he's always been. And unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. So Russell Westbrook, if you are looking for a free agent next season to help fill out your roster, I wouldn't look to him. I would not. All right, San Diego Sports 760. Quick break here. Brock Purdy talk on the other side. We've been avoiding it. Sammy's been avoiding it. He's scared. But we're going to have a conversation about the newest contracted quarterback in the NFL. That's next on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Pella Windows and Doors. The Padres, are getting swept in the Vetter Cup over the weekend by the Seattle Mariners, are off today. They're traveling up to Toronto to take on the 22 and 24 Blue Jays. That game will be going at 4 o'clock tomorrow with Chris Bassett going for the Blue Jays and Dylan Cease going for the Pods. And in some college football news, the longtime rivalry between USC and Notre Dame might not continue. The Trojans are reluctant to enter a long-term deal with Notre Dame due to uncertainty surrounding the college football playoff format, per Sports Illustrated. Pella Windows and Doors, #1 on Consumer Report and the leader in window innovation, now offering their largest discounts ever to celebrate 100 years as a company. Schedule your free consultation today. Please visit pella.com. Again, that's PELLA.com.
San Diego Sports 760. Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long with you till 2 o'clock. John and Jim will take over then in 10 minutes at 1:42 today. We are going to give away those tickets to go see Simple Minds with Soft Cell and Modern English. Saturday, May 24th, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. Sammy, you're in charge of reminding me to do that in 10 minutes.
Simple Minds. Guess what? We won't forget about you.
Nicely done. Put the hand up in there next time you do that.
Bender, Breakfast Club. Shout out to one of the greats.
Oh, one of the greats indeed. Speaking of the greats, Brock Purdy signed a contract.
Wow.
So
going that far this early, huh?
Let's lean back all the way to last offseason. The 49ers were in contract hell with about 5 different people. Remember, the Trent Williams deal took forever to get done. The Brandon Ayuk deal took forever to get done. They eventually got it all going, and then everybody got hurt to start the season, which sucked. And the Niners had a really down year. Brock Purdy was going to be the highlighted discussion coming into this offseason. They already took care of Kittle. They still have to take care of Fred Warner on the defensive side, but Brock Purdy was named #1. And John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan both said at the beginning of this offseason, they do not want this to be a late summer agreement. They wanted to get this done as soon as possible. So last Friday, literally seconds, Sammy, seconds after we get off the air.
Yeah, it was like they were waiting.
How the hell does this happen? This happens to me all the time. Seconds after we get off the air, news comes down from Adam Schefter, who had it first, that Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers had agreed. I don't believe it's signed as of right now, but they had agreed in principle to a 5-year, $265 million contract extension, which will keep him with the 49ers through the 2030 offseason in the NFL. 181 of that's guaranteed. I believe most of it goes into effect over the first 3 years of the deal. After that, it becomes a little questionable, but like Rich Ornberger told you earlier on the show today, really all quarterback contracts are shorter term than they renegotiate once they get into that 3rd year, which is what I expect Brock Purdy will be doing. So by the end of the next 3 years, we will know whether or not Brock Purdy is the quarterback of the future of the 49ers, or if this is a bad contract that got both his general manager and his head coach fired. That is the position that John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan were in when they signed this deal. Their position has not changed whatsoever. If this burns and fails, both of them are gone anyways, and so is Brock Purdy, and they gave a bunch of money to a guy who likes to drive Tacomas and who likes to be on John Deere commercials. All of that's good. Personally, 49ers fan here, I want to disclose that. I am happy with this contract because I don't know what else the hell they were going to do. It's not good enough to wait for the draft next year and to tank a season. No, this team is kind of built for right now, unfortunately, with some aging contracts. This may be the last year that under this administration with John Lynch and with Kyle Shanahan and with Fred Warner and with Nick Bosa and with George Kittle and with Trent Williams and with Christian McCaffrey that they even have a shot at this. So you had to get this done. They got it done. Check mark #1. #2, Brock Purdy's pretty good. And I think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. I really do. I think I watch 49ers game closer than just about anybody. And here's what I know about Brock Purdy. And this is a little nerdy, but here's his stat that I think is the most important one. Expected points added per drop back. I like to think of this for like war in baseball. This is war for a quarterback. Brock Purdy's been the best in football since he's joined the league. So per time he drops back, other than Lamar Jackson, who's right behind him, Brock Purdy is the best at adding expected points to your team in all of football. He's great 20 plus yards down the field. I think he gets a lot of hate. He gets a lot of criticism because he was the last overall pick in the draft because he wasn't supposed to be that good. I'm telling you, as someone who's watched a lot of 49ers football in my life, outside of Alex Smith, he throws the best ball. Outside of Steve Young, who was the quarterback when I was a baby, he's pretty good at clutch time in games. Like San Francisco got to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo in spite of Jimmy Garoppolo. They get to a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy on the back of his great second halves against the Packers and the Lions. He struggled in the first half, but he came through when it mattered. I like the signing. I really do. Maybe I'm an optimist, but I think it's going to work out nicely. Sammy hates the signing. Go ahead, let it rip.
It's really cute.
Thank you.
No, you're going to expect me to come on here and bash it. Was it the worst contract he could have signed? No, he didn't eclipse Dak Prescott. He didn't get $60 million a year, but that was never going to happen.
Got 53.
Now,
I was worried if it got over 55. That's when I would have been.
You wanted it between 45 and 50. I remember you telling me.
That was a long time ago. And then once
3 weeks ago,
Nick Wagner came out and said it's going to be between 50 and 56. I was like, as long as it's closer to 50.
This is my problem. I don't think Brock Purdy's a terrible quarterback. You know how I feel about him. I don't think he's a great quarterback. I would put him in. I would rank him around 16 if I was taking quarterbacks and everyone was available. I'd put him in the middle of the pack. My problem is this: it's $53 million a year, 181 guaranteed, 5 years with a no trade clause that came out yesterday, which was kind of got snuck in the contract there at the end. With a really good quarterback class coming next year with Arch Manning, my problem isn't that he signed. My problem is
you weren't going to get Arch Manning.
Hold on. My problem started back in free agency. When I hear a lot of Niner fans talk about, well, look what Brock Purdy did when he took him to the Super Bowl, and then the next year or the year before where he got hurt in the NFC title game, and they took him to the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Last year they're 6-11, and we're hearing about how the team was hurt. But guess what? That's the team that's going to be on the field this year. Deebo Samuel gone, Jalen Moore gone, Dre Greenlaw gone, Talanoa Hufanga gone, Charvarius Ward. You went to the Colts, right? Yes, Charvarius Ward gone. So this defense that was so excellent the last couple of years is not there anymore. So do I think Brock Purdy's a bad player? No. But I mentioned this earlier to Rich. Do I think he's a force multiplier where Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, I think he makes players around him better. I think you can throw any receiver out there, Josh Allen, he upgrades how they are. Same with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. I don't feel that way about Brock Purdy. So $53 million a year to me goes, we're back to mediocrity. And I don't feel where Brock Purdy making that much money and people want to go, well, he's better than Tua and Dak makes more and Trevor Lawrence. Look at the amount of playoff success that those quarterbacks have had since they've gotten paid.
So what I'll say is most of those guys needed to go. Like Deebo Samuel was past his prime. He needed to go. The wide receiver room is still stacked. Ricky Pearsall is a stud. He was a rookie last year. Brandon Ayuk is coming back off an injury. Hopefully he's good. And Jawan Jennings was number 1 last year. He was the best wide receiver on the team. The injuries they dealt with was the primary reason for the losing, and the offense wasn't necessarily the problem. The defense was the bigger problem a year ago. A defense that, like you said, is now barren. Well, most of those guys weren't on the field for a lot of last year. Hufanga wasn't on the field at all last year. Dre Greenlaw was hardly on the field last year. He got back in and immediately got hurt again. So I think that a lot of those names needed to go anyways. And guess what? They brought in 20 new rookies. The special teams was a disaster last year. They fired everybody who had anything to do with the defense and the special teams. They bring back a Robert Saleh. 49ers are in good shape this year, man.
Well, hold on.
I'm saying 11, 12 wins.
That's
against
insane.
one of the easiest schedules on the NFL calendar.
I keep hearing this easy schedule thing.
Easy schedule.
The Rams are better than you.
I don't know if that's true.
They 100% are. They were one of the youngest defenses in the league last year. They got really good at the end of the year. They're only going to be better. Everyone wants to write off the Cardinals, who, by the way, got the steal of the draft, and Will Johnson, who should have been a top 5 pick out of Michigan at corner. But the only reason he dropped was because of his knee injury. They got a really good pass rusher. The Cardinals' problem last year was not offense. They had a great offense. The problem was the defense was terrible. They're pairing him back there with Budda Baker. That team's going to be better. In Seattle, by the way,
Budda Baker's like 35.
Sam Darnold led his team to 14 wins last year. So everyone writing off the Seahawks, another defense that's one of the youngest in the league, that's only been getting better year in and year out. So I keep hearing this thing about the Niners schedule. I don't understand this. Again, the team that's going to be on the field is closer to what last year's team is than the team 2 years ago. And I don't think that Brock Purdy makes him a team that much better. In the no trade clause, I mean, if you guys bottom out in the next 2 years, you're not taking a quarterback because he's not. Why would he ask to be traded? You can't cut him. He's making $181 million in guaranteed money.
I don't think they have any interest in trading him. The hope is that this works. And guess what? If Brock Purdy fails, that's going to be a whole new general manager, a whole new head coach, and starting from scratch. You're going to deal with the dead money that you have to deal with just to get the new guys in.
What's the worst kind of quarterback to have, though? An average quarterback to good.
I know you like to say that. I don't think that's true. The worst kind of quarterback to have is a rookie who can't freaking do anything.
No, you're telling me, would you rather have Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy?
I would rather have Brock
Would
Purdy.
you rather have Trevor Lawrence or Brock Purdy?
I would probably rather have Brock Purdy. Trevor Lawrence hasn't done squat.
Okay, but Trevor Lawrence has the upside of a number 1 pick. How much better do you think
Okay,
Brock
so you
Purdy
can't
can
just
be?
say because he got picked there that he's never going to have success.
He has intangibles that Brock Purdy does not have. I don't understand when Niner fans want to dog Jimmy Garoppolo. I genuinely don't understand this. Jimmy Garoppolo had a 5-3 record and led him to a Super Bowl, and he gets crushed by Niner fans. And Brock Purdy does the same thing, and then he's praised, and he's like,
Jimmy G had a better team around him. I'll honestly, I'll die on that hill.
Ago?
You watch Jimmy Garoppolo play football, it looks like it's a challenge for him the entire time. All right, this is going to go nowhere. I can already tell. 107 days, 10 hours, 18 minutes, and 18 seconds until we find out for real. That's when it matters, baby. By the way, your boy Jim Russell's been texting me like crazy. By the way, Brock Purdy made Juwan Jennings amazing last year. Niners are favored in 15 of their 17 games next year. What is he talking about? LOL.
First off, Jim Russell making the comparison on Friday that if Trey Lance had done this, Trey Lance, I mean, everyone would be going crazy.
Dude, that's true.
Trey Lance has upside that Brock Purdy does not have.
I don't know
Brock
where
Purdy
this comes from.
up.
Just because the guy gets drafted somewhere doesn't mean squat.
Also,
do we need to talk about Tom Brady? I hate this argument. It's so tired.
Fletch, before we go to break, teams that pay quarterbacks, what do they have to do? Draft really well. The Chiefs draft really well. The Ravens draft
Niners
really well.
got 20 rookies coming in.
What in the last 5 years? Name me a player in the late rounds that has been excellent for your San Francisco 49ers.
That is a glaring negative for them.
So you need to start hitting on.
Ricky
rookies,
Pearsall, by the way,
who we think will be good.
He was great at the end of last year. Dude got shot in the chest. I'm sorry that he couldn't start the season great.
I'm not coming at him for not starting. I'm saying he had 4 good games, and I'm hearing about how Ricky Pearsall's a Hall of Famer. I mean, I
said that.
And everyone's praising about George Kittle got paid. Well, George Kittle's an old tight end like Travis Kelce who's on the decline.
Nick Bosa also got picked. He's pretty freaking good. I don't know if you want to throw some shade at him.
Oh, really? With the top pick in the draft? That's so hard to make. I'm talking about later round talent. Because by your admission, Brock Purdy's going to win you 12 games this year, so you're never going to be picking at the top to get Nick Bosa.
No, we're going to win 12 games and go into the postseason and have a shot in an NFC that is not as hard to get through as the AFC. I'm fine with where the Niners are at.
Well, the Super Bowl
really nothing you said has made me feel any different.
The Super Bowl champions last year in your conference, the Detroit Lions, who you fall over yourself for.
I do love the Lions.
The Bears look like they're absolutely loaded.
Don't even talk to me about the Bears.
The Rams have a
Bears
Super Bowl.
win more than 5 games. Maybe we'll have a discussion.
I can't.
Right now,
Niner fanboys, I can't even.
It's time.
Fathom.
They're going to win 10 to 12 games next year. They're going to be a postseason team. They're going to have a shot at a Super Bowl. I honestly believe that.
I thought you said rebuilding year 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, before they. I don't think I said that 2 weeks ago.
You did say that.
I really don't.
100%.
Win a pair of tickets to go. Win a pair of tickets to go see Simple Minds with Soft Sell and Modern English Saturday, May 24th, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Get tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. Caller number 7, you're going to the show, 877-767-4760. If you want to go see Simple Minds and forget all about Sammy, you can at Ticketmaster.com or caller number 7 right now, 877-767-4760. We close this thing out. Maybe Jim wants to pop in here for the final segment.
Yes, get Jim in here.
Coming up next on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. For a final time today here on San Diego Sports 760. My name is Ben Fletcher. That's Sammy Long. John and Jim are coming up in about 10 minutes. Congratulations to Dario, who just won those Simple Minds tickets.
Going to the show, man.
Dario.
Shout out to Dario.
You're our guy, bro. Thank you for being here. If you want to watch the show ever on X, it is at Fletch and Sammy. On YouTube, it is at San Diego Sports 760. You could catch up with us there. We were only chipmunks for about 5 minutes today, but 5 minutes was enough for Sammy Long in a little helium chipmunky voice to say, Tyrese Halliburton has $1 million smile.
You love that chipmunk voice.
He sure does.
He or Halliburton or you? I'm talking about you.
The answer is yes, all the way around.
Yeah. Shout out to our stream for people keeping in during that, because I would have been like, God, I mean, Fletch, you don't sound that different between the stream and that. So
yeah, sure. Thanks, Sammy. All right. We obviously got into a little bit about the Brock Purdy contract. Rich Orenberger was on the show a little bit earlier. We talked a lot about the Padres, their struggles this weekend in the Vetter Cup. If you missed any of it, it is up on the podcast as soon as we're off the air today. Just search the Fletch Zone or San Diego Sports 760 on the free iHeartRadio app. You can find us there and catch up with the show. We would love it if you added us to your presets as well. Something that sort of slipped under the radar this weekend was Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, getting a bit of a contract extension. Now, I remember when we were about 100 days out from the NFL season a year ago, I was doing a sports show in the mornings here on San Diego Sports 760 called Big Rich, TD, and Fletch, which you can now listen to over on 101.5 KGB every morning. But we were doing that show talking about how many weeks into the season will it take for Nick Sirianni to be fired? Because that was the narrative around Nick Sirianni, who had a bit of a blow up the year prior. Remember, the Eagles, they were the hottest team in football. They won like 10 out of their first 11 games and then ended up missing out on the postseason or getting knocked out in the first round of the postseason after having a terrible second half to their season. So Nick Sirianni was on the hot seat. Remember the offseason prior where they were talking about this is Nick's one last chance? Well, he proves them wrong, goes out and wins the Super Bowl. We don't know the terms of this extension yet, how long it's going to be. But is Nick Sirianni the right choice for the Philadelphia Eagles? Or was last year more of Saquon Barkley comes in and changes the whole narrative of the team?
I mean, you got to give Sirianni credit. I was definitely a critic of him. I mean, they kicked my Chiefs' ass in the Super Bowl, so I got to give him credit there. But
what was the final score?
We don't need to worry about that. But see what happens when he gets frustrated about Brock Purdy, then it goes to the Chiefs. But Nick Sirianni, we'll see. I don't know if he's like a great coach in terms of it'd be interesting to see what happens if the tush push got banned.
I don't even think he's that good of a coach. But the numbers are the numbers. The dude has the third highest winning percentage, like 706 in the whole Super Bowl era.
I mean, Howie Roseman's the GM of a decade. I mean, you got Cooper DeJean, had a pick six in the Super Bowl. Jalen Carter. I mean, every draft pick they make hits. So Howie Roseman makes it really easy for Nick Sirianni. I'm not going to come on here and bash because he deserves his flowers. He won a Super Bowl. Again, would really like to see without the tush push, does this team have the same success it has? But for the time being, you got to give him a contract extension because he won Super Bowl. We have some breaking news for your Niners, Fletch.
What's going on?
Your boy Fred Warner, 3-year, $63 million extension per Mike Garafolo.
Potentially more impactful than the Brock Purdy signing, and I'm not even kidding.
Fred Warner's a beast.
Fred Warner is the quarterback of that defense. I still think, even though he's a little older now, he's the best middle linebacker in all of football. The dude is an absolute stud, a workhorse. He was just putting on a camp for kids this past weekend, so he gets done with that. He had 250 people show up, 250 like 7th grade and younger show up for his little linebacker camp this past weekend. That is a good dude getting a good paycheck. Good for him. What was the number?
3 years, $63 million.
I love Fred Warner, man. If you had a team full of Fred Warners, you're winning the Super Bowl every year.
What about one Fred Warner?
One Fred Warner helps a lot. And so we'll see how the 49ers do this year. But that's awesome. That's good news. I knew that was going to get done quickly after the Purdy one. They had their order of operations for this offseason, and it was Kittle, Purdy, Warner. Glad that one got done. And that seems like a team-friendly deal to me.
What is that, 27 a year? But I can't, 63 million divided by 3.
Yeah, but it's short.
21.
He probably could have gone after
go to
a
San
5
Diego
year.
State, so we have to take a second to calculate. 21 million a year. 21 million a year.
I like that a lot, man.
It's good. I mean, Fred Warner's a beast. Back to the Sirianni thing. I agree. He deserves a new contract. I'm not going to sit here and bash it, but
I don't even know how good he is as a head coach.
Yeah.
Like, I personally don't think he's that great.
I think Howie Roseman covers up a lot for him. Howie Roseman's drafting and the amount of talent and depth that team has. Like, I mean, this guy was literally one play away, one Matthew Stafford throw, non-Jalen Carter sack from losing his job, and now he's getting a contract extension. So shout out to Nick Sirianni, but we'll see if we'll see. I'm curious to see what happens with this tush push thing today. It's getting voted on today. I'm sure it'll come in the next couple hours. They're calling around. The Eagles were calling around teams, so they clearly don't think that they have the support they need to pass it. We'll see if it does. If I was a betting man, I'd say that it'd probably stay in the NFL.
Tush pushes stay in. I'm nervous about the playoff reseeding one.
I hope that doesn't happen.
I hope it doesn't too, but I just have a weird feeling that one might be happening. And then you run into some problems, not immediately, but I think 10 years down the line, it slowly starts to transition into professional basketball where all of a sudden the regular season is just devalued. And that would be the worst thing for the NFL to do, in my opinion.
Right, because the NFL's regular season, you said this earlier, is the best.
Hot take. I like the NFL regular season more than I like the postseason in the NFL. I really do. I think it's more interactive. You got the Sunday where you're all day watching every single game that happens. You care about every game that happens. And then the postseason, if your team's out of it, all of a sudden you're not caring anymore.
Yeah. Might want to get used to that feeling.
All right. We're done for today. We'll see you tomorrow. John and Jim coming up next at San Diego Sports 760. Go listen to the podcast. You can hear all sorts of Sammy Long funny jokes about the 49ers. He's so good at it. We'll see you tomorrow.